Welcome back guys, hope you're all doing great, and today in this video we are going to see how to create a RESTful API services by using Node.js, Express and MongoDB. Along with that, I'm going to show you how to use JSON Web Tokens to authenticate the user, and I'm going to show you how to use some validations and encrypt the user data and all kinds of these informations. So watch this video till end and learn how to do all these kinds of things. And now without wasting your time, let's get started. Okay, then now open up your command prompt. So let me open it and navigate to your desired folder location. So from here, I'm going to create a new directory called mkdir. mkdir. I'm going to create a new directory like jwt tutorial YouTube, and I'm going to open that folder, and I'm going to open it in my Visual Studio Code editor. You are free to use whatever the code editor you love to use, and open a new terminal. Here we go. And here, initialize our project. I'm sorry, spelling mistake. npm init init. Okay, so here I'm going to use the same name and the version same. Description, we are going to discuss about JSON Web Tokens, and entry point is going to be app.js, not index.js. And test command nothing, git repository nothing, keywords author, it's my name, attribute Ravi. License, everything is okay. Yes. Okay, now you can see that we created our package.json. If you open up your package.json, you can see all the details whatever we given over here. So now we need to install two more packages. Let's install it. npm install Express to create the server, and nodemon to execute our entry point file, that is our app.js. Okay, so need to install these two packages. Make sure the name is correct, nodemon and Express. Okay, so that will install the required packages and all the known modules, whatever we needed, everything will be downloaded. It might take a while, so sit tight until it gets done. So here you can see that it's creating the node modules, and all the necessary packages are over here, some default packages. Along with that our two packages is also installed. If you check your package.json, you can see that dependencies object over here, and it's having our two different packages what we needed. Okay, so clear the screen, and now we need to create the new file for our let me minimize this. Okay, so I need to create a new file in my root directory called app.js, because that is going to be our entry point. Okay, so now our app.js is created, and I'm going to alter this command over here. So let me close it. Let me delete it. Anyway, we are not using any testing command. And here I'm going to type start. Whenever I'm running the npm start, it should run this command, nodemon app.js. It should run this command. Okay, so this will trigger our app.js whenever I'm running the command npm start. Okay, now package is good to go. Let me close it. And over here, now we need to initialize the express. So const express is equals require the express. So now it's initialized. We need to create our app. Const app is equals express. So this will create our app. So now inside here, in between, we are going to have the middleware and the routes, all those things. So first we need to create a port that will listen to our server. So app.listen. So this will listen to the port number 3000, and once it's listening, I am calling a callback function, and then I'm just going to console log it like listening the port 3000. Save the changes. Okay, now we are good to go. So in between over here, we will have the middleware and all the routes and everything. Okay, so I already created one video about this, like how to integrate the MongoDB and all those things. If you haven't watched that video, just click that video link at the top right corner of this video right now and go ahead. I highly recommend you to watch that video now, and then come back over here and watch this video. So now what we are going to do is, let's say I'm going to create a route. So app.get home. Along with that, we are going to pass the request and the response a function, and I'm going to simply send a response as inside the home. Okay, so now let's verify whether everything is running fine or not. So let me start npm run run start. So this will trigger our nodemon app.js, and you can see that it start listening to the port number. That's why this console log is printed over here. Let me open my browser, and over here I'll type localhost 3000, and look at that, we got this message inside the home. So our, what is that, our home route is running successfully now. So now we need to configure our MongoDB with this. So let me stop the server now by pressing Ctrl C, clear the screen, and for this we need to import a package called Mongoose. npm install Mongoose, M-O-N-G-O-O-S-E, Mongoose. Install it, and at the time while it's installing, let's open up our MongoDB. So search for MongoDB over here, or not DC, MongoDB, and go to their official platform. That will open up their Atlas, which is really helpful, and click sign in. Okay, so you can use your Gmail or your email account to create a free account over here. I'm just going to use my Gmail, log in with Gmail. So this will straightly take me to my MongoDB cloud platform. From here, we am already using the same cluster what I used for a previous video. So go ahead and watch that previous video now, and then know how to create this cluster and everything. Okay, once you signed up, you just need to create a new cluster and set up your database access, network access, and everything. And now here I'm just going to click the connect and connect your application. And this is the link I needed over here. So just copy this link and go to your terminal, and over here I'm going to use the Mongoose package which we imported, which we install now. So let us, after this app created, I'm going to import const mongoose equals require the mongoose. And now over here I'm going to use the mongoose connect, mongoose dot connect method to connect my connection string. And along with this connection string, you can see that it's expecting to provide the password. So that's the database user password which you created for your database access. So go ahead and use that same password what you created for that. And I'm going to use the password over here. That's the password for this database I have created. Okay, and after this successful connection, I'm going to call a callback function because I need to know whether it is connected or not. And I'm going to console log it, console log connected. Okay, so this is not a proper way to connect here because we need to secure this connection string and password on all those things. I'll show you how to do that. First, let's verify whether it's running fine or not. So npm start, that will run it, and you can see that it's successfully connected to our MongoDB database. So how to protect this is, like, I need to protect it by the environment, local environment files. I need to keep all these connection string, everything in the local environment file. So let me stop the server, and I need to install a package npm install dot .env. So we need to install this package to access our environment and environmental packages of environment local environment variables. So .env is the package we are going to install. So let's install it, enter, and that will install that particular package. So now it's successfully installed. Let me close this terminal, and over here, up right here, I'm going to use that. So require .env/config. So you can directly import that package. Now you can use that environment variables over here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uh, create a new file in the root directory called .env, and I'm going to copy this command from here, copy this connection string completely, and create a db connection over here and paste it. So by this way, you can ignore this whenever you are pushing to the cloud or a GitHub. You can ignore it by using the .git ignore file. That will be ignored because we don't want to upload this particular file in the GitHub or anywhere. So now I need to use that connection string over here, right over here. Now what I need to do is I need to access that local environment variables. To do that, process.env. Okay, inside that we created an object called db connection. Copy it and paste right over there, save the changes. Now let's rerun it and make sure whether everything is running perfectly. So npm start, we should get the same message as connected. Now our MongoDB is up and running fine. Okay, so I'm going to keep this app.js as much as clean as possible. So we need to create multiple routes for users, for the post, for blog, and lots and lots of things necessary for your project. To do that, I'm going to maintain all the routes, everything in a separate folder. So let's create a new folder called routes. So inside this routes, we are going to create a new file. What is the file I'm going to create? Let's say auth.js, because that's for authentication, to maintain my user, to register my new user, and for validate my new user, and all those things. Okay, so over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same package from the Express. I'm going to import that same package. So const router, okay, equals require express. So inside the express, we having the router function. Okay, so this router will create a router, and we can use a middleware whenever the user is whenever we are getting a request from the server like /user, we will reroute that to this particular file. So by this way, we can maintain all the things in a separate file for a separate route. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that first now. And first over here, now what we need to do is we created that router, and right after here, router dot get and slash, you can say registration, register or registration, register, that's fine, register, and we can give the request and the response. Open here, and let's say response.send. You can say like inside the register. Actually, it's not supposed to be a get method, it is supposed to be a post method. Okay, and now I need to export this, otherwise it will not work fine. So module.export exports equals router. Okay, so now still this app.js, it doesn't have any relation to this auth.js, so we need to use it somehow. So what I'm going to do is inside the app.js, we are going to import all the routes. So here, this is to import the routes. Okay, so here I'm going to use app.use. So use is the method, it's like it's a middleware. Okay, whenever we are getting the message, when we are getting in the URL, we are getting like /API/users, we need to /users, we need to reroute that particular thing to user route. This user route we not yet created, so I need to create it first. Const user route is equals require double dot slash, not double dot slash, routes slash auth. So whenever we are getting in the URL, we are getting this particular URL. Whenever our server is getting this particular URL, if you get any request to this, we need to reroute that particular thing to this particular file, auth.js. From there, this router will handle all the requests will come through that particular URL. Okay, so now let me check whether it is up and running. So everything is up and running, and let me go to my browser and I'll copy this. I'll go to my browser over here, and after this /API/register. Okay, now you can see that it's showing error. Why? Let's go here /register. So let's create a root. I think that's a post method, that's why. Get a root directory, request comma response, open it, and response.send, and over here inside the users, let me close this, and if I press tab, and you can see that it's showing inside the user, because this is a post method. For that we need to send from form data, we need to send it as a post method. Okay, so now our middleware is up and running fine. Okay, so now to handle all, every time I can't go and type the users over this URL, and I can't change it, and to send a form data and all those things, I need to create an actual form. To test all these APIs, whether it's working fine or not, I'm going to use a package called Postman. So this is really useful to check your API is up and running fine or not. This really comes handy, so go ahead and download it. And I already downloaded it. Let me open it over here. Let me bring it to the screen. Okay, now here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new collection, and I'm going to name it as JWT tutorial YouTube. Inside here I'm going to create a new request, and I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. By default it's a get method, so if I hit let me edit it, let's say get users. If I click send, and you can see that it's returning the same message, insert inside the user. If I change it to post method, and if I change the route to register, now if you click send, you can see that it's showing inside the register. Okay, so our API is up and running so far, and so good. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to save some details into our MongoDB. Okay, we need to save some details into our MongoDB. Before saving some details and all those things, we need to create a schema for saving your informations into the MongoDB. To create a schema, what we need to do is we need to create a new folder called models, so that by this way I can maintain all these schemas and everything in a separate folder. So over here I'm going to create a new file called user.js. okay, here I'm going to import the mongoose package. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. Save the changes, and const, we are going to create a new object like user schema equals mongoose dot schema. Okay, so inside this we are going to create a bunch of objects which are the columns that in that table we are going to have. Okay, first is the important thing is the name. Okay, and name I can simply define it like string, like that, what kind of data type it's going to be. But sometimes you need to define it like a required type and minimum and maximum characters, and we need to define all those things. We need to type some conditions. To do that, open another object and type what kind of data type it is. That is going to be the string data type, and this is required, so required is equals true, and the minimum value I'm supposed to keep 6. You should have minimum 6 character for a name, and a maximum you can go up to 250 characters. Okay, and after the name I'm going to have the email, and email, that's also going to be the type as a string, and required, definitely it's going to be a required field. Without email we can't create an user, and minimum it's going to be 6, and the maximum it's going to be 250 characters, 255 characters. Right after here, absolutely we need to get the user password. So password colon, open it, and type of that is going to be the string, and required field is going to be true because without password no use at all, and minimum absolutely same, and maximum like 255. I think so we need to expand it like 1024 something. Why I'm saying is because later I'm going to encrypt the password, so that will throws a bunch of characters. I don't know what count it will come, so sometimes it will come minimum. It depends like what kind of password you are giving. So the hashed password will always be a little bit too lengthy, so we'll make sure that we'll store every single character, it's encrypted. So I'll keep it as 1024. Okay, and after this, date, when that particular user is created. So date is going to be the type. You can use a date format directly, but I'm going to keep it as a string, type string, and it's the default value. uh, I'm not supposed to pass any value to this date, because whenever the date will automatically generated by using your system date time. So we are passing the reference to the date.now function that will get your system date at the time of the user registered. Okay, so now our schema is ready and we need to export it. Absolutely, module.exports equals mongoose dot model, and the table name we are going to create is the users, and we are going to use that schema, what schema we created. So we are now creating the table with the name of users, and we are using the schema what we created and what we represented over here. Okay, currently nothing will affect your MongoDB database because we never used it. We need to use it at the time of register. Okay, by the time of registering, where we are going to register is we are going to use it inside our auth.js. So inside the auth.js, you need to use that package. So const, I'm going to use it as a user object. I'm creating a user object, and I'm going to recur that package which we created, double dot slash model slash user. Save the changes. And inside the register, because this is a post method, we are going to send a form data from here through the body tag. Over here we are going to send a form of data, and let's say console.log request, we are going to send the body, so request.body. I'm going to console log it, or let me send it to directly to the responses. Response dot send request.body. Whatever the information I'm passing through the body tag, it will be response back over here itself. Okay, so where it's coming from, it's coming from register only, so leave it as it is. And now here I'm going to use the body tag, and if I'm going to send a raw data, and I'm going to change it to JSON, because we are going to use the JSON data. We are passing everything as a JSON data. Open it. I'm going to pass the name first, and that thing should be, I can't increase the font size. Okay, I can't increase anything. Okay, so name colon double quotes name. It's, let's say, what kind of name I can, so I'll give my name itself attribute. Okay, and email. For email, I'm using vitfree@gmail.com. And later we need to verify, validate all these informations, these emails and all those things. And password, I'm just creating Vitfree at 0206. Or okay, we'll keep it simple, something like this. Okay, so here you can see that we are sending some name and email and the uh, password and everything. We are not supposed to show the password, so let's hit the send. What we are getting? We are getting nothing. Okay, we are getting nothing. Why? Even after that, we'll do the console.log request.body, say the changes. Let me open the terminal, and I will hit it again. If I go here, you can see that it's returning an undefined message, because your server doesn't know how to parse the data what you're sending through the body tag. To do that, what you need to do is go back to your auth.js, and we need to use a middleware by using your Express. And I'm going to, right after here, app.use. Okay, I'm going to instruct the app to use the express.json. Okay, whatever the body data is sending to you, you parse it as a JSON file, and we need to instruct it in the headers. Click the headers, and we need to parse the content type, what kind of content type you are sending. Select the content type and use application./json. Okay, now if I click send, you can see that that body data will be parsed as a JSON file. Okay, still it's having some minor bugs and everything, because we are not supposed to send the password. User are not supposed to see the password. Our password and all the details, everything need to be encrypted, and most probably it's not saved in our database itself. To do that, now we need to save these informations, because now we know that we're having all these details and everything in our request.body, and now we need to save these details in our MongoDB. Okay, so for that I'm going to create a new user. So const user, small letter, not the same uppercase here, because we are for the model we are using uppercase user. For this interior object, I'm using the small letter user. So equals new user, that's the model which we having. Open the model object, and here I'm going to pass the name, exact same name and objects and everything. So name colon request dot body dot name, what we are exactly passing from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply copy it and paste it here. Okay, then I'm going to send the email. So make sure that it doesn't make any mistakes over here. And here request dot body dot email, and for that the same way password also copy it here, request dot body dot password. Save the changes and pass the same password over here. Now we'll collect all these details, everything over here. Now we need to save it. To save it, I'm going to use the try and catch block to handle this in case is there any runtime errors. If there is any error is coming, response dot send response dot status. Okay, I'm sending the status as 400 as a bad request, and send I'm sending an object like status. What kind of status it is? Status has failed. And what is that message we're having? I'm sending, is there any bad request or anything is happening? I'm sending the status as failed, and I'm sending the message. What is that error message we got? And if nothing, if there is no error, I'm going to save this to our MongoDB. So to save it, what I need to do is I need to change this function to an asynchronous function. Okay, so this function need to wait, this route need to wait until our data will be saved in our database. So for that way I'm using the asynchronous function, then await until the user object which we created over here, it's saved in our database. Okay, because that's the our model object. This is where we created our model object, and that's this user is representing to our model object. Until that user is saved successfully, please wait, and that will return a promise, const, not const saved user. That will return a promise. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that saved user exactly back to the user itself. So if the response is 200, that means success. Send it back to the user itself, like with the object called user as saved user. Okay, so that in the front end now we can access the user information by using this particular object. Now let's verify everything is working fine or not. Let me go here. If I click send, now look at that, we are getting back our object and the user. This is the object we are sending, name, email, password, and the ID. MongoDB generated a unique ID, and the date is nothing but is the current system date. Okay, let me go back to the MongoDB and let me go to the browse collection. Over, it's refreshing now, and let me see here, we created the users table over here, and our details, everything is saved over here. I don't know why it's okay, fine, that's good, because already in the previous example itself I created these kinds of things. Okay, so it's up and running fine. So users is everything is created, because now I don't need this previous details, so let me delete it, and let me delete it. Cool, now we're having the current details, but if you look at here, we are having this password over here, and even if you sending without any value, see, this is not a proper valid email. Even if I send it, it will save it. See, it's saving it. So there is no validations, no proper encryptions, nothing. So we need to do all those kinds of stuff. So let me refresh it once again. Let's make sure whether it's in. See, it's inserted. So it doesn't have any proper validation, and it doesn't have any proper encryption. So we need to do all those kinds of stuff over here. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do is we need to protect our password. So for that thing, we are going to use the bcrypt. We are going to use the bcrypt package. So let me stop our server, and I'm going to install a package called npm install. What is the package name? One second. Yeah, install bcrypt, bcrypt.js, bcrypt.js. This is the package we are going to use to encrypt our package. Okay, CLS. Close it, and now let me close this one. And right over here, I need to import that package what we needed. So let's import it as const bcrypt equals require bcrypt.js. Cool. So now we can use this inside our register over here where we are getting our password. So before getting our password, instead of setting directly the password, right after here, I need to get the password and I need to encrypt it. Okay. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use await bcrypt dot gen salt. Okay, so if I open the browser and if I search for bcrypt js npm, click here. So this will opens that particular package and you can go through that package, about that package completely, and you should find that the documentation where it is, Hmm. 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 Where it is. I just want to show you like what is that bcrypt.js. We need to generate a salt for it. Generate a salt. What is the purpose of that salt string is doing? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, see here, a salt is just a random string that makes the hash as unpredictable. So we need to create a salt, and that's how it's a value which you are passing to the hashing algorithm for the bcrypt. So how much value, for instance, if I'm giving 20 or 30, that will create that much of hashing characters. So if you're using high value, your password is high, it's like too tough to predict that hashing algorithm. Okay, so by the default value is 10, we are going to use the default value as it is, as a 10. So I'm going to pass the value as 10. So don't worry, we are creating the salt is just to pass how much character you wish to create for your hashing algorithm. Okay, so I'm going to pass the default value as 10 itself, and that will return a value back. So const salt. Okay, then now what we need to do is I'm going to create a hashed password. Hashed password is equals await bcrypt dot hash. This is where we are passing our password along with the salt, how much value you need to pass, for that hashing algorithm. So first I need to pass the request dot body dot password. Along with that, you need to pass the salt value. Close it. Now we have that hashed password over here. So for instance, let me hide this thing. Okay, and let me send the hashed password. Let me show you how the password is encrypting. For instance, now if I click this, if I click send, could not send a request. Why? Oh my god. Start the server. Now it's up and running. Let me go here, and if I click send, and look at that, this is how your hashing algorithm will work. It will encrypt that password with different bunch of characters which is unpredictable, and this is what we are going to save it in our database. Okay, so now I'm just going to uncomment it, and instead of sending that hash password directly over there, I'm going to use that over here because I'm not supposed to show the password. Let me save it and let me go here. Let me change this at gmail.com. Okay, let's leave it as it is. If I click send, now look at that. What is the password? It's saved in your browser. Let's go ahead and go to the and refresh it. Cool. Now we protected our password over here. So let me delete it. Delete it. Delete. Okay, so now I'm having the value which is only having the password, encrypted password over here. So let me create one more value. So let me type my full name. Oops. And let me use my valid email address with reveal.galaxy at gmail.com, and let me use some other password, 123. Cool, it sent. Now okay, look at that, we created an encrypted password and we saved our details now. But now if you have a look at it, still we don't validate any user data, because name it's supposed to have minimum 6 letters. Even if you are sending 2 letters, 2 characters, it will save the details. So we are not supposed to allow that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to validate all the user details what I'm passing through the request from the body tag. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to validate all the details what I'm passing through that particular uh, through that request URL. To validate that, I'm going to use a package called, so let me stop my server. I need to install one more package, CLS npm install at happy joy joy at happy and slash joy. Install it, let it downloaded and it gets installed in your package. Okay, it's installed. Let's rerun the server. Okay, let me close the terminal. And now what I need to do is I need to create a schema to validate our data. So right after here, I'm going to create a schema for that. And before that, we need to import that package. So const JOI is equals require at happy joy. And right after here, I'm going to create a schema. Before saving all those details, I need to validate it. So that's why I'm creating that schema. Const schema, oops, not this. Schema is equals joy dot objects. Okay, inside this, you need to pass the bunch of schemas and everything for your object. So I'm passing the name, checking the name. So name, it's going to use joy dot string. Okay, and that string should have minimum 6 characters as we defined over there, and it's a required type. Okay, and it's a required type. And I'm going to create the email, and email is also going to use the same thing. Let me copy it and paste it over here. And I'm going to use the password, and absolutely it should be the type of email. So dot email, because email, it should be the type of email. You should have that at character, and you should have the dot domain name, sorry, dot yeah, dot domain name over there. And password, happen colon, that should be the same, joy string minimum 6 character, and it should be required. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to validate the data. We need to validate this data. So for the time being, I'm just going to hide until here, because every time we don't need to save it. And we are going to send the back response dot send the no, we need to validate first, then only we need to send it. So I'm just going to validate first. So schema dot validate the uh, validate request dot body. because we having the all the informations in our body tag only. Then we need to pass our request.body to it. That will be validated and that will return a bunch of object for us. So now let's verify it. So I'm just sending few two letters for the name. If I click send, you can see that it's showing a bunch of values over here. What are the values we are getting over here? Let's see. See here, it's showing value, that name, and it's showing the error. What is the error? We are getting the message as length must be at least 6 characters long. Look at that. It's showing what is the limit and for all those things. So it's we need to write a bunch of calculations for all those things, but this package which makes so easy and it's giving you the bunch of values over here. So I just need to access this message. All I need to access this message. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this as error, const error equals schema.validate, and here I'm going to pass that message only, error 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 dot details, error dot inside the error, come on, errors dot details. Inside the details of the 0th index, we having the message object. I need to access that message object, save the changes. Now if I send it again, what happened? Control J, app is crashed. Why it's crashed? Details 0, it's showing error. Error is our, oh, it's inside the errors object, I think so. We'll see. We'll send it again. Yeah, here we go. Because there is one more object over there, error. Inside the error only we having the details, and inside the details we having the message. That's the problem. Okay, so now we got this error message, and let me minimize it a little bit. So now let me keep the name properly. So now that we having the minimum character, so instead of passing the @ sign over here, if I send, look at that, email must be a valid email. It's not a proper valid email. Even if I'm sending a 2 letters over here, it will not allows you. Password length must be 6 characters. Even if you're not sending anything, password is not allowed to be an empty. Look at that, how customized message we are getting back. Is it cool, right? So okay, but I'm not supposed to keep all those informations over here, because we need to keep our all the validations as a separate file. So what I'm going to do is, at the root directory, I'm going to create a new file called validations.js. okay, so here I'm going to cut it and I'm going to paste it in the validation.js, and right up over here I'm going to cut this schema and I'm going to create 2 different functions. Okay, we are going to create a functions, and that function is going to take a parameter as a data, so const. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 different functions. Const, what name we can give for the function. This is register validations. Register validation is equals, and here I'm going to, not this one, here I'm going to pass the data, because we need the data for the function, right? And open it, and I'm creating a schema. So this is the schema we are going to create it, and this function is going to return, okay, return schema dot validate that particular data, whatever the data I'm passing to this function, return that validated data back. Okay, so this will be returned back, and I need to export it. So modules dot exports dot register validation is equals register validation. So this time, why I'm exporting this register validation alone, because in later in future we are going to have the login validations and all those things. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to paste it one more time, and instead of register validation I'm going to change it login validation. And this time I don't need the name, because at the time I'm going to use the email and password only. And absolutely I'm going to export it this login validations also. So now we having two different validation, that is register.validation and login validation. Okay, so now we need to use it over here inside the auth.js, because we need to validate our data, right? So that's why we created that function. So const, we having two different objects here, from not from, sorry, equals require double dot slash validation, where it is, here it is, validation. And what I'm going to use, I'm going to use the register validation object, and right after here, once the password is not once the password is encrypted, right above here. So let me delete it. Right after here, let me delete it, and right above here I need to validate all the details, right? We need to, so let's validate the user data over here. First, const error, we are getting the error object from the particular schema, because here I'm going to call the register validation over here, and I'm going to pass request dot body. Okay, so this data will be passed to this function, and that data will be validated, and this will return a complete error object, and we are capturing that error object. Okay, and then I'm going to pass that error object response.send that error object. What is the error we are getting? Let's verify it now. Let me delete it. If I hit send, look at that. Now we are getting that error object along with the details. Cool. It's working. It's working as it is, how we discussed previously. Okay, now it's working, but I can't send this information like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check if there is an error, return a 400 status. If there is an error, okay, if there is an error, return the response as status with 400, and send, along with that, send the error message also. What is that error message we are getting? So error dot details 0, that means zeroth array. In that we having the message, send that message. Okay, so this will be check if there is any error. If there is any error, it will return this function, so nothing will happen after this. Okay, and now let's verify. Okay, let's verify it. Now if I'm having any error in my function, it should return a message as the error. It's not supposed to save the details. If I hit send, now look at that, we are getting the messages. Password length must be minimum 6. Okay, now let me give some other character over here. What I can give, okay, Ravi, and I can change this name as Ravi at ravigmail.com, and I'll give Ravi123. If I hit now, it throws the error for email. Now it's showing error for name itself. So Ravi01, save the changes. Look at that. Now it's showing email is not valid. Okay, absolutely. At Gmail. Now everything is perfect. It's supposed to save these details. If I click send, look at that. Now our details is saved in the MongoDB. Yeah, here we go. So now our details is saved and we successfully validated our detail. Okay. And there is one more problem also over here. In case if user is creating with the same email address, we need to stop it. That means the email is already exist over there. You're not supposed to create again. So we need to stop it. We need to validate that one also. To do that, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to verify that email is just already inside our database or not. So right after here, we need to checking the user email already exists or not. We need to verify it. So const email exist is equals await until we are checking that email in our database. User, that's the model which we having over here, user dot find one. So this is the function which used to find a very specific detail in your MongoDB, and this function will return a promise that we are saving it in our email exist. And email, I'm passing the email, I'm checking the email object because this is the object which we having in our MongoDB. Okay, which is because that's the object we are creating. So email, I'm checking it request.body.email. If this if the body email is already exist in our MongoDB, it will return a promise over here, and I'm going to return as response.send email exists. Simply I'm just returning that email exists now. Okay, so this will return that particular statement. Let me show you. If I try to insert it again, it's showing what happens. I think it's reinserted the data. No, it's not reinserted that data. It's simply, why it's not even saved the detail, and it's nothing, it's returned email exists. Yeah, because that email, it's already there and it's getting that particular data information. Okay, so if I'm changing that, if I'm sending a different email now, instead of this email, if I'm sending this particular email, this will return this particular detail. Look at here, I'll just change this email over here. If I'm sending it, now we can see that it's getting that value. See, it's not the same value what we're having in the name. It's fetching that particular detail by using this email. Okay, so now we are getting back that response. That means if that email is already there, it will returns a complete that particular detail. That means if the email is exist, instead of sending this status, I need to if email exist, if this email exists, return response dot status as 400 and send a message as email already exists. Okay, this is the message we need to send. So now if I click this, you can see that it's sending a message as email is already exist. So now we are not allowing the user to save the same, use the same email address to create multiple accounts in our website. So this is working fine. So we encrypted our password and we validated our data, and everything is up and running fine. So far so good. Okay, so now we need to do the login. So register is successfully running everything, and when I'm registering any user, I'm not supposed to send the complete user information, because if I'm creating a new user as, let's say, Johnny, and let's say Johnny at Gmail, and I'll say some password Johnny 123. If I click send, see here, it's sending the complete user informations. So I'm not supposed to send the complete information. All I need this ID. So using this ID, I can access it in the front end. Okay. So let me, instead of sending the saved user completely, from the saved user, I'm just going to pass the ID. All we need this particular ID. Using this ID, we'll fetch it back in the front end and we can do whatever stuff we want to do. Okay, so now this will send only that particular ID. Cool. So now our register is so far so good. We did whatever we need to do. Now we need to create a new route and make sure that route is after this. Yeah. So this is for login. So router dot post, that's also going to be the post method only. It's not a get, and it's going to be the login, and it should have the slash sign over here, slash login. Okay, and it's going to be absolutely async method only because we need to fetch the detail from the database and all those things. So this function need to wait until that, and I'm going to pass request and response in the function parameter and open a function. Okay, so here we need to get the request from the body. We need to get the all the details. What are the details we need? Email and password. Okay, so to do that we need to, so let me send response dot send request dot body. So now I'm just simply sending that detail. Let's go here, I'll copy this and I'll create a new request. This is to login. Okay, and I'm going to give that URL. I'm going to change it to post method and I'm going to change this to login. Cool. And now here I need to create a body tag, and before that I need to add the content type. Content type, it's going to be application JSON because we are sending the JSON tag, JSON type in our body tag. Change it to JSON, and I'll copy this same thing from here and I paste it over here. We don't need the name, so let me delete the name. I'm just going to pass this email and password. So if I click send, look at that. Now we are getting our response back. But what we information we passed it, we are getting it exactly same back. That's what we did so far. Okay. So here, first what I need to do, I need to validate that user, because if the user not given proper email address, proper email over there, I need to validate it first, and the password I need to validate. So that's why we created this login validation. So to do that, I'm going to use that one also, login validation. And right after here, so here let's validate the user data. Okay, so I'm just going to const, I'm going to create an error object because that will be returned from the login validation, and I'm going to pass the request.data. Request.data, this request.data will be passed over here and that will be validated and it will return the object, and we are capturing only the error object from that. Okay, so if the error is exist, if error, if error, we are going to return that particular error status with the status 400 dot send with error dot details is the object. Inside this array we are getting the 0th index, 0th element, and inside that we are having this message. All we need just that message. Okay, let's see. If I am not sending a proper password, if I click send, something is not adding up. If I go to control.j, we are getting a bad request. Okay, so it's need to be print that message. If error, we are returning the response with 400 and we are sending that error dot message. Everything is working fine, everything is fine. It's not returning anything. Why? Cancel it. Okay, we'll verify it later. So now we'll just move on and then we'll check. Okay, so what I need to do is, all I need to do is I need to check the email address. If I need to check the email address which is already exist or not. If the email address which is already exist in our MongoDB, that means the user is there. Okay, if the email address is not there, that means that the user is not in our database. So we need to check that. So checking the user email in our MongoDB database. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this line and I'm going to paste it over here. Instead of email exist, I'm going to change it to user. Okay, if the user is there, that means we need to do, that means that user is already in our database. So we need to enable the user access to log into our particular database. So if not user, I need to send that invalid email. Okay, cool. Let's verify it. So this email is already there. If I click send, it needs to send a request back, but it's not sending a request anything. So let me stop the server and let me rerun it. Post users login, we are sending the email. Nothing is returning back. Why? 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 Wait. Response dot send user. Let's check. If I click it, it's sending the user. Damn, but why it's not returning the custom message what we are sending? If oh my god, my bad. It's working fine. See, if the user is there, that means if the user is there, it's sending the invalid mail. If not user, okay, that means I need to send a wrong information. If I send a wrong email, look at that, it's working. My bad. I need to send a wrong email, but I failed to send a wrong email. That's why it's not working. So if I send Johnny@gmail, its email is there. It's according to it, it's correct. That's if it is correct, we are not sending anything. That's why it's showing nothing. Okay, so our email, everything is working fine. Now what we need to do is, all we need to do, validate the password. The same way I need to validate the password also, right? Because our password is encrypted. Because if our password is encrypted and the user is sending, let's say I'll copy this email. Oops, I don't know what is the password. Okay, I'll keep the same password. Okay, because our password is encrypted, we need to decrypt the password, then only it will be fine. So this is the password I given for the Johnny, because last time I don't remember the password what I created for previous one, but this is the last account I created, Johnny123. So I'm just keeping it Johnny123. So now I need to decrypt it. So checking the password. So we need to verify the password by decrypting it. So const valid pass or valid password. So I need to wait until the bcrypt is decrypting my password. Bcrypt.compare is a function which helps you to compare the two different passwords. So request dot body dot password, that's our password we are sending through the body tag, and I am passing it to the and I'm comparing this password along with the user dot password. Okay, along with the user dot password which we are having in our database. Okay, and now if uh, if 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 it is a valid pass, oops, not this one, if it is a valid pass, okay, return response dot status 200 dot send password valid. Let's see whether it's working fine or not. If I click send, see, it's printing the message as password valid. So all we need to do, we don't need the valid password to be returned. If the password is not valid, if not a valid pass, return the status as 400, and I just need to return as invalid password. So if I'm sending an invalid password, this will return that message, invalid password. If I send the correct password, nothing will happen. Okay, so if it is, everything is up and running fine so far. Our, if you're sending a wrong email, it will throw the invalid email. If you're sending a wrong password, it will send a wrong password. So our function is, everything is working fine. So this is where now we are going to discuss about the package called JWT, JSON Web Token. So first let me explain what is the JSON Web Token is, because once the user logged in, you need to monitor that user how long he's logged in into your domain. If he is not active for more than 1 hour, we need to close that token, so that user needs to re-log in again to access your website back. So that will be monitored by using the JSON Web Tokens. So to do that, we need to install a package called JSON Web Token, CLS. So I'm going to insert a package called JSON Web Token. So npm install JSON, JSON, JSON Web Token. Without any space, type everything as it is, JSON Web Token. So that will install that package what we needed, and after this we need to import that package in our auth.js. Let me go up and I need to import it. Const jwt is equals require JSON Web Token. Okay, so I'm going to create a web token for the user who's successfully, because if everything is working fine over here, email and password, everything is working fine. Now right after here we need to create that web token. Okay, so that web token will be wait a second, just a moment. Okay, so now what we need to do is uh, we need to create a new JavaScript file to validate our JSON Web Token. Along with that, we need to create and assign a token for the user first. So now let's creating a token for the user. Okay, so const token is equals jwt dot sign. Okay, sign, that means inside the sign, at the time of sign I'm going to pass the ID of the user dot ID underscore ID, because we are passing that, if the user is successfully signed in, we are getting that user ID. Okay, and this user is our model object, and then we are passing that ID over here through that. Okay, and we need to encrypt that token. So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new process dot env dot token underscore secret. Okay, I'm going to create a new environment variable inside the env, and that is going to have a bunch of random variable like this. You can have anything as your secret value over here. You can use anything, but I'm just going to type some bunch of random variables over here, and that it's going to create a token for this particular ID. Okay, and after that I'm going to return that response.send. Oh, come on, send that token value. Now let's see what is the token we are getting. Click insert. It's showing, oh, my server is not running. npm start. Now our server is running. If I click send, now look at that. This is our token for the user. So now I'll copy this, and if I go to the here and I search for JWT-IO, the first one, JSON Web Tokens, click it, and if you paste your web token over here, you can see that this is the ID which we are passing to that particular. If you verify this ID 1A9F4, where is that? Where is the Johnny information? Oh, let me refresh it. And you can find that ID. See here, 1A9F4. And if you check over here, 1A9F4, this is the ID which we passed, and this is IAT. It's nothing but is the time when he logged in. So this JSON Web Token JWT keep on progress this particular ID session. So for the certain amount of time, after that it will automatically remove this token, so that user needs to re-log in again after a session of while, if the user not even using that particular thing. So this is how we can manage that particular token. Okay, so now it's created that token, and I'm just, instead of sending that token back, okay, so along with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this token in the header. Response.header set this token as auth token. Okay, in the header I'm just going to create this auth token header value, and I'm going to pass that token value for that auth token, and then I'm going to send that back, this token value. Save the changes. Now if I go back here and if I send again, that will create the token. If I go to the header, and you can see that auth token, and we having that authentication token over here. So now we having this in the header, we having this authentication token, and we having that token value. So whenever I need that authentication to verify that particular token, I'll pull that information from the header. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file to verify that token. So where I can create that thing inside the routes itself. So verify user.js, because why we are creating as a separate file is because whenever you need to save a post or check a post or download anything else, you need to verify every single time. We need to verify that the token is accessible or not. If the token is not accessible, we are not allow the user to access it. We need to ask the user to relog it. That's why we are creating a separate thing. So inside here, I'm just going to create a new variable for JWT. We need that package, so require JSON Web Token. Save it, and then we need to export this package. So module.exports, I'm going to export a function. This function is going to have the request, response, next as a parameter. So const, first we need to fetch the token value from the header. So request, through the request dot header from the request.header, I'm going to fetch this particular auth token. Fetch that auth token value, okay, and I'm verifying that if there is no token, if not token, then return that response dot status with 400, like forbidden, we are not unauthorized access for it. Then send that messages access denied. You are not supposed to access it if you don't have the token. Else try to verify it. So const verified, because if there can be any token value, right? So we need to verify that token value for the active user, because at the time once the token is generated, we can see that it's having that ID information. Using this ID information, we can verify it. So if the ID is generated from our particular, if the token is generated from our server only, you have this ID. That means that token will be generated by using this particular secret key. If it matches this secret key, then the user is verified. Okay, so JWT dot verify that token. That token should equals that match that process dot environment variable dot token, the value which we created. It should match our secret value. Okay, only if it is match, then it will match if the user is verified. Okay, so if there is any error while doing it, we are simply sending the response back as response.status 400, then send as invalid user. Okay, you are not supposed to log it. Otherwise, we are verifying it. Once it's verified, we are this request, because we having the user detail request.user is equals verified. So this is nothing but this object by the time of I'm creating this one. Okay, so we having that user object whenever we are accessing it. Okay, so from through the request, once the user is logging, we are getting the detail, and that is verified. We are setting is as this particular verified. So now this user will have that particular ID information, and we need to use this next. Okay, we need to use this next to move on, otherwise it will throw an error. So now let's verify it whether it's working fine or not. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new route called post.js. Okay, inside the post.js, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this few common thing, copy this router and paste it over here, and module dot exports is equals router, and I'm going to send router dot get slash comma request comma response equals I'm just going to send the response.json some value. What I'm going to send, I'm going to send the post value, post object. So with the title, like title, let's say my past post. Actually, we are not supposed to send a direct value. So for the example, I'm just going to show you for the description something inside here. Okay. So if and I need to use this route where it is, where not here, app, yeah, here, right after here. Let me copy it and paste it, and this is going to be post route. Instead of auth, we are going to use the post. Let me copy this file one more time and paste it. Instead of users, this time is going to be posts, and instead of user route we are going to use the post route. Okay, if you are getting any route through slash posts, that means let me create a new thing, and this is going to be the post, and I'll copy this URL and paste it here. If I'm sending as post, click send. Look at that, we are getting the post. Okay, but it's not supposed to send that information. We need to verify that information. If you are logged in, then only you can access this information. So to do that, what I need to do is I need to import this verify user which we calculated. Okay, not that's not supposed to be a verify user. We are not actually verifying the user, we are verifying the token. So the appropriate name for that file is verify token. Cool. Now where is my post.js? Over here, const verify is equals require double dot slash where it is routes slash verify token. Cool. Now I need to pass this verify over here because we having the token value in our header, so I'm passing this verify function, then only this will be executed and this function will be executed at the time of whenever you're calling this verify over here, and it will get that token from the header and it will do that all the necessary activity what we are supposed to do. Okay, so now if I execute it again, see, we are getting the messages access denied because we not yet logged in. If I click login again, if I click again we'll get the access denied because we not yet passed this authentication token by the time of accessing it. So what I need to do is I'll go to the header, I'll give the authentication token, and I'll give this value. I'll copy this value and I will give that value. Now if I click send, this token will be verified and you are able to access this value. If you don't provide the authentication token, it simply returns access denied. If you give your authentication token, it will gives you that value. So we successfully implemented the authentication token and we verified the user validation on both at the time of registration and at the time of login, and we encrypted our password and we decrypted our password at the time of login. So everything it's up and running successfully. I hope you guys are enjoyed how about this video. If you love this video, hit that like and subscribe button and share this video with your friends and comment your opinion in the comment box. And I wish you what to say, nothing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care.